I enjoy fighting games, and I enjoy series that are not fighting games, so it's even better when those two things combine. But could Yu-Gi-Oh! Be one of these unexpected franchises to make this crossover? Well, it seems like I'm not the only person to question that, as this topic was suggested by a few viewers and won by a landslide on a poll I posted. While we only get to know these monsters based on their design and any lore or effects printed on their cards, there are plenty of aspects you can use to create fighting game characters out of basically anything, especially considering how the anime brought these monsters to life. We can even use any spell or trap cards they've appeared on. Since there are essentially countless monsters to choose from, I'm going to pick a handful of classic iconic Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters and try to figure out how they'd operate in a fighting game. Using existing fighting games as a basis, I'll touch upon what I think the general playstyles of these monsters will be and what a few of their attacks and super moves would look like with extra influence from any Yu-Gi-Oh! Media. Side note, I have not played Jump Force, which is an arena fighter that had Yugi and Kaiba as playable characters with monster assists, so despite being Yu-Gi-Oh's first technical fighting game appearance, I won't directly be referencing it in my video due to my lack of knowledge with the game. So let's see if it's a good or bad idea to portray Yu-Gi-Oh! As a fighting game. Being the original signature monster, I feel Dark Magician would be the Jax Knight of all trades, as in he would have basic tools for close, mid, and long-ranged combat. All his attacks would be based on different iterations of the Dark Magician, like Dark Sage and Dark Magician Knight. His main technique, Dark Magic Attack, would function as both a projectile and a super move. The Ball of Energy variant would function like a standard fireball, and the Negative Color variant would be a super move that can hit anywhere on the screen. Think of it like Hawkeye's Gimlet in Marvel vs. Capcom, where it can make contact no matter where your opponent is. For an extra projectile, he can use Makiyu the Magical Mist, like when he was Dark Sage in the anime, which would be weak but have a fast startup, like a Kikoken, similar to how it came out of nowhere to nullify Thousand Dragons' flame. For up close, he can swing his staff like a sword based on his Dark Magician Knight form. I'd also integrate two spell cards heavily associated with him, Mystic Box and Magical Hats. Note, Magical Hats is actually a trap in the real life card game. While either could work as a teleport, I think they could be fun super moves. Mystic Box could be like any stab your opponent with many blades super, and maybe even reference one of the few cool censorship moments in the dub. The opponent can revert to their card form when impaled as Jirai Gumo did, and then is finished off like in Johnny's instant kill in Guilty Gear, where he slashes his opponent after turning them into a big card. Magical Hats could be like the super move of Faust in Guilty Gear Xrd, where he makes you pick one cup out of 4. Picking the wrong hat in this case could lead to trapping the opponent in a spellbinding circle or just a powerful attack. If not that, then Zatanna basically has Magical Hats as an evasion and trickery move in Injustice, so maybe they can share a trade secret between magicians. Despite the fact that she's learning from the Dark Magician Girl has plenty of different attributes to her personality and her attack plan looking at the cards and anime. I feel like a lot of her physical attacks would be acrobatic, like how she moves in the anime. I'd imagine the big gimmick with her is that she can summon other monsters to assist her based on the Magician Girl archetype. Some of her cards show her working with this team of other similar Magician Girls. They would function like how Felicia has her kitty helper or 17 helps 18 in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Each Magician Girl, which come in a variety of fruit pie flavors, would function differently. Apple could form a barrier that allows her to counter based on the Magician's defense card. Chocolate could fire a projectile. Lemon could do a kick. Come to think of it, Ginyu in Dragon Ball FighterZ might be a better basis for her moveset. Her main solo move would be Dark Burning Attack. As her go-to projectile, it would be like Dark Magic Attack, but maybe be a little faster when traveling to show her more sporadic nature as the student. Her ultimate super move would call out a more powerful friend, Dark Magician, or Magician of Black Chaos if she's fighting Dark Magician to still go with her card effect. Either way, they would team up for a flashy cinematic attack where they both blast her opponent. Hold on, let's make this slightly more authentic.
Dark Burning Attack!
Not much to say about Blackluster Soldier, but he would fit the role of a close combat fighter to balance out all the spellcasters so far. He'd have powerful attacks that are slow but not affected by hit stun, like Bane from Injustice. The closest existing character for him to play like would probably be Nightmare from Soul Calibur, since he swings a big heavy sword that's slow but powerful, and he has some supernatural abilities like burst shields. Nightmare's dark energy feels like the embodiment of chaos, which fits Blackluster Soldier's history of being the Chaos Soldier, combining light and darkness to bring him forward. The main super move I'd give him is that fast ground slash that destroyed Harpy's pet dragon, like Siegfried's super move in Soul Calibur 5 that creates a straight solid path of ice bursting from the ground. Maybe have an ultimate move where the soldier hops on a dragon, or am I asking for too much there? Flame Swordsman would add another sword-wielding character to the mix who would be faster than Blackluster Soldier. His key gimmick would be using his spell card Salamandra to add range to his attacks. Certain attacks can elongate the reach of his sword using a stream of fire, like how Ivy can extend her sword to become a whip in Soul Calibur, or Martian Manhunter's limb-stretching trait in Injustice. For his ultimate attack, he can release the Fire Dragon. For some reason, I see it working like Krillin's Scattershot level 3 in Dragon Ball FighterZ, where he hits them with a flexible beam that shoots the opponent in the air and then sends them downwards as it rains ki blasts. Just replace the ki with a massive flame dragon that turns into great balls of fire. Even if they block the initial hit, fire will still rain from the sky, forcing the opponent to continue blocking if they don't want to take big damage. Harpy Lady is probably the character I'm most excited to make a moveset for, since she would play like a character I'd normally main in a fighting game. The fighting game character she'd relate to the most is probably Morgan from Darkstalkers, based on her unique fly, walk, and glide mechanics. The main Morgan similarity would be her having the Morgan Dash, where Harpy Lady goes into a partial flight mode while dashing. Her other Morgan-influenced ability will involve her super move, so I'll get to that later. Harpy's main projectile could be Harpy's Feather Duster, which would be a weak projectile that's really fast like the wind. Insert reference to Marvel vs. Capcom Storm here. She would have a dive kick similar to her main attack method in the anime. It would work like Firebrand's Bon Voyage, where he drags his opponent with his feet claws as he flies close to the ground. Her main weapon would be a whip, either the Rose Whip from her equip spell in the Sisters card or her Cyber Whip. After covering this style on a whole list, I know there are a lot of ways her whip could work. I'd envision it to either be like Catwoman's in Injustice with single-strike whip attacks, or Whip from King of Fighters, where it's a key part of her moveset with special moves and normal moves. Maybe even like Ghost Rider, where his distance-covering Chain Whip was used for his heavy attacks. Now Harpy Lady has a lot of potential for super moves. She could have her Cyber Shield be a temporary upgrade level 1. It could simply upgrade her attack or defense until it wears off, or even just be a base part of her outfit. To get her pet dragon involved, he could be a beam super move for her, where he breathes a massive line of fire. I'd envision the beam hitting at an angle or above where Harpy Lady is on the field, kinda like how the super move of BB Hood where she calls in the Huntsman is above her since he's taller than her. Another super move has to be her spell card Elegant Egotist, where she clones herself. It could work in a few different ways. One way would be like Morgan's Astral Vision, where the other Harpy would mirror all of her attacks. If not that, then it could summon one or both additional Harpy Lady sisters, either working like a little buddy mechanic where the other Harpies work in tandem with the main Harpy based on certain button commands, or simply allow the main Harpy to access new team-up moves that would not be possible without them. Having them out can also power up the pet dragon super move to emulate the card's effect. Alternatively, the sisters could all be accessible from the start of the match, making the three of them like Noob Saibot in Mortal Kombat, where the main Harpy would do most of the fighting like Noob, and the sisters would come out for certain combo strings and special moves like Saibot the Shadow Man. Pick your favorite Harpy for costume options. Other super move ideas for the sisters could include Triangle Ecstasy Spark, aka that giant X attack, as a different beam super move, and the ultimate attack can be a cinematic team-up super where they all combine for Harpy Lady Phoenix formation. Is it me or did Harpy Lady get the most support out of all the classic iconic monsters, because I still feel like there's a lot of untapped potential in her moveset? I wonder if the Harpy Queen could fit into all of this. You know, anytime Link was playable in a fighting game, just do that for Celtic Guardian's moveset. I'm sure Celtic Guardian has an archery set somewhere. He even used 2 swords at the same time at one point. And there you go, brilliant moveset. Hopefully Nintendo won't sue if you take my idea though. Similar to how Smash Bros. Used to say Ridley was too big, Blue Eyes White Dragon suffers from the same issue. However, unlike Smash Bros. Ultimate, I don't think we should size down Blue Eyes. Instead, let's get creative with him by turning Blue Eyes into one of those ambitious Arc System Works designs. The main playable character can be Maiden with eyes of blue, and her giant companion will be Blue Eyes White Dragon, who follows her around on the stage. He'll participate in attacks with certain button commands to fight alongside her. This sort of emulates how they work together when Maiden is on the field in the card game. Her body would be the hitbox normally, and Blue Eyes would only be able to get hit when he's attacking, like the Personas in Persona 4 Arena. The moveset idea most closely relates to Shadow Labrys and how her demonic persona would always be out. The persona had hard-hitting attacks that were slow to start up, but when timed correctly with Shadow Labrys' attacks, you could create crushing combos. Maiden's attacks would be weak but fast with sorcery involved, and Blue Eyes would have standard dragon attacks with claw slashes and flying charges. The one definite attack the dragon would have is his signature White Lightning, which could function like Shadow Labrys' Persona's Mouth Beam. Maybe they could also call 2 more dragon buddies to fuse together for an ultimate attack from the Ultimate Dragon. Strike Ninja seems like a random choice, but he was sort of the mascot for the failed Dungeon Dice Monsters, and when he got a chance to shine in the multi-part episode, he has loads of personality. When Yugi commanded him, he was doing a bunch of flashy poses and running like a madman. Plus, look at all the ninjas in fighting games, there's plenty of inspiration. You can give him teleports, ninja weapons, whatever works. To use his card effect, he can remove himself from play, so maybe give him a move to disappear for a second, impervious to all attacks from the opponent when active, but punishable when his move is complete, sort of like Smoke in Mortal Kombat when he turns himself into smoke. He can also signify this effect with invisibility, and for his speed, either give him a command run or just a function to run instead of dash. Regardless of which weapons he has, his shuriken are a must, since he appears on the equip card for them. Considering Fuma's shuriken inflict damage when they're destroyed, perhaps they can return like a boomerang, so if the opponent blocks or clashes with them on incoming, they still have to be prepared for them on the way back. And as I said at the beginning of this segment, give him all the ninja poses, show off why Duke Devlin favored him so much. I could definitely see Jinzo as a sub-boss, with a broken power related to him destroying traps, only instead of traps, it disables a fighter's moves that are based on traps, so if he's fighting Dark Magician, he cannot use his Magical Hats move. To have a more fair version of that power, it can be in the form of a laser like in the anime, and disable a move or power temporarily as if it's a trap when it hits, like Noob Saibot's Ghost Ball that disables blocking. Other than that, I could imagine him fighting like Dormammu, since they both have similar demeanors, only Jinzo has Shadow Ball as his main projectile. One of his super moves can be where he puts on his little hat for a power or defense boost, and another can be Psychic Shockwave, which would be an all-encompassing ball of energy, so basically Kikosho. His ultimate move could involve tentacles of some sort as seen in the Jinzo Lord card, so go crazy with that idea. I'm using Nemesis's level 3 as a reference. Exodia could be the big Galactus-like final boss, since he's larger than life and has giant lasers. He can just do unfair giant boss things, but his entrance has to be where he emerges out of a pentagram. All the elemental heroes could fit in a fighting game. They have so much going on in each designed to create varied movesets, so much so that I think it would add about half an hour to the video if I tried to give each one the attention they deserved. Extra notes, I initially tried implementing spells and traps as universal mechanics in the game, but it was ultimately more logical to adapt specific ones to certain characters. That being said, if I went with the original idea, spells and traps would be something to equip before the match, like assists in Marvel vs. Capcom or gems in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. They could activate when certain credentials are met or by using a meter mechanic. Activating traps could be like breakers or bursts in Arc System Works games that would stop opponents in their tracks when attacking attacking and get them off you. If this was a tag team game, certain spells like Monster Reborn could be selected pre-match to revive fallen teammates for the price of lots of meter. Valentine had to use as much meter as possible to do that in Skullgirls with her defibrillator, so it would be a pricey spell. An example of a less costly spell would be Scapegoats, which could block a single hit projectile, so essentially a free projectile absorb. Finally, field spells could be used as inspiration for the arenas in the game. Obviously, the advantage given to specific monsters would make the game unbalanced, so they would be for aesthetic only. You could have Harpy's Hunting Ground for Harpy Lady, Skyscraper for the elemental heroes, etc. And that's where I'll end this idea off here, but considering all Yu-Gi-Oh! Has to offer, it's hardly the tip of the iceberg for this topic's potential. Maybe I'll even do a volume 2 someday if people want to hear more. So what did you think? Any extra ideas for the monsters I discussed, or any monsters that I did not discuss that really deserve a shot in a fighting game? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this turning things into fighting games that aren't ones already, check out my video where I try turning Doki Doki Literature Club into a fighting game concept. Or perhaps check out some of my other fighting game or Yu-Gi-Oh! Themed videos if this is your first time seeing my channel, or you can just let the video end and enjoy your day. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.